What is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Monday, the start of 2 hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation, taking you all straight up the lock. Crunch time coming in around 6:15 or so on the East Coast. They answer your questions. We'll answer your questions as well, assuming it certainly helps if they're relevant to the conversation we're having. We go game by game. We'll do that shortly. 2 distinctly different slates tonight. 6-gamer on DK, 8-gamer on FanDuel. FanDuel including Sacramento and Atlanta, Golden State and the Clippers. And Sacramento is without 3 of their key players, with the exception of De'Aaron Fox, who keeps putting up 50 burgers every single night. He's the last one standing. Sabonis not officially ruled out, but he's currently doubtful. Steph Curry also currently questionable for Golden State. 10:30 game on the East Coast. Do not have to worry about that on DK. DK cuts off the slate 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Orlando and Phoenix. Myself, Bobby Gomes, Tim, Tasteful Tides. It is the People's Show. What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. It's also, as you see on the scroll, there's also a Movie Monday. Movie Monday. And if you don't know what Movie Monday is, Tim, you weren't excited pre-show, and now
I forgot all about this.
I'm not excited about it either because you're just going to try to stump the chat with your devious.
I'm not trying to stump anybody. There's no
the clues are rigged. They're 100% rigged.
They're 100% rigged. Yeah, this game.
If I'm being honest,
probably tell someone in the chat. Whoever gets this right definitely gets told in the chat what the answer is.
The whole thing is a charade. That's your conspiracy. If I'm being honest, I think the clues are kind of easy today. I think it's kind of easy. I'll say this: I think at 4, somebody's going to get it. Maybe by 3. 1 and 2 might not be that helpful, but once you see 3 and 4, it's like, oh, okay. Now the picture is starting to come into play. If you're not aware what Movie Monday is, well, if this is your first time, maybe you played. You guys, I don't know if you saw it. First time ever, we did a Film Friday. Exactly the same game, except we do it on Friday. We did it last Friday. Now we're doing Movie Monday. We're going to give 5 individual clues. We drop them as the show progresses. Every time a clue drops, you tell me in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Tell me the movie I'm talking about. Be the first to tell me. You cannot MME. Only 1 guess per clue drop. But tell me what movie we're talking about, and you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. And without further ado, it is scrolling. So let's give the people the first clue. I'm trying to find my list. I know I gave it to producer Steve, and I'm like, where did I put my list? And I'm scrolling because I have notes for the show as well. Steve, go ahead and drop clue number 1 because I can't find it. This is a good start to Movie Monday. Unmoving. There you go. Unmoving is the very first clue drop. And again, as always, Tim and Bobby, I warn you guys, please don't spoil the game. I know you know it. Don't blurt it out.
We don't know it.
Oh, well, if you do, if it happens to come to you, by all means.
ChatGPT is going to figure it out, though. I'll tell you that much.
If that would be impressive. I did not think to ChatGPT the clues, but maybe I should do that going forward. But yeah, I'll tell you what. If ChatGPT can guess it, I will tip the cap, and we'll give ChatGPT a week free of RG Premium. All right. Big picture as far as the slate, Tim, you kind of mentioned 2 different slates, depending on where you're shopping. A lot of news we're waiting to drop. Miles Turner is a huge one, midday downgrade for Indiana. They're already dealing with some injuries as well. TJ McConnell looks pretty good with some of their wings being out. And now possibly Turner is not going to give it a go. If he doesn't go, it's probably going to be like Obi Toppin season. And they might dust off like James Johnson. I don't think we're going to play him. Just sort of thinking like how else they're going to fill those minutes. But yeah, midday downgrade for Miles Turner, which is obviously a big deal. Oh, no wonder why I couldn't find it. I had my wrong page open. That is the reason why I'm scrolling, and I realize did not have the NBA GrindersLive. There you go. Rookie mistake on my end. Joel Embiid is officially doubtful. They say he's ill. Of course, Maxi's out as well for Philly. I'm assuming he's out. Our projections are saying he's out. Jimmy Butler is back, not on the injury report. Jaime Jaquez and Terry Rozier are both out. But 11 of the 16 teams tonight, 11 are in the back half of a back-to-back. So, yeah, be on alert. Be on alert for some goofy stuff. Nobody on the front end, because as you guys know, every Tuesday and every Friday is the in-season tournament, the Emirates Cup, if you will. And the way they set it up is no team plays an Emirates Cup game on the back half of a back-to-back. So nobody tonight, nobody on Thursday is going to be on the front end of a back-to-back for the foreseeable future until the tournament is done. All right, Tim, give me big picture, because big picture FanDuel I think is Sacramento, and big picture DK I think is Indiana, and then go from there.
Yeah, if you're playing on FanDuel tonight, please backload your lineups, because you should be getting to multiple kings. Definitely De'Aaron Fox. He has 50% usage with no DeRozan, no Sabonis, and I can't remember who the other one is, but it means some absurd
Monk.
Usage. What's that?
Monk.
And Monk, right? Yeah. So I mean, just absolutely crazy amount of usage. So you're definitely getting to you're definitely going to lock Fox into your FanDuel lineup. I really like that game in general. Wouldn't mind getting to a couple pieces of Atlanta either. So in FanDuel, you are total, and you have Steph Curry news at 10:30 Eastern. So I mean that could end up being rather big as well on FanDuel. So FanDuel, you really should be backloading, leaving spots open for that Curry news. Obviously you should be playing Fox. You got to see if Trey Lyles is going to keep starting, because if he does, I think he's a really strong play as well. So it's definitely a completely different slate. On DraftKings, this Pacers news is really big. TJ McConnell's already going to be chalky. If Miles Turner sits, it should be Obi Toppin. And then we have Jarris Walker also. I think he would end up being a pretty standout play. And we have Siakam Revenge, right?
Yes.
He's only he's 7,200. I mean, I against this team, I know he hasn't really flashed much of a ceiling this year, but still, I mean, that price with potentially no Turner, I mean, I think that's absolutely fantastic. So I mean, this Pacers team on DK is going to be super popular. In terms of other news, I mean, we've got Mason Plumlee starting for the Suns. We have him projected to start. He's 4,800. He's a decent value play. And then we have Iguodaro at 3,400. He's gonna be like the chalky value option. We have him projected for 26 minutes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen his jump shot. Did you ever see that tweet with the highlight of his jump shot, Dean?
So I actually dug into him before the show. I wanted to know how to pronounce his name as well. I have it written down phonetically. Oso Iguodaro. I have not seen his jump shot, but I was looking at his stats, and I'm like, this guy looks like a player who's going to be bouncy and athletic, but not a great shooter, like a good stocks guy, and probably not a very good shooter. Does that sound correct? Like based on his jump shot?
That's the feel that I get also. Like he might he might nab like 1 million rebounds in this game, but I mean, I don't think he has much of a shot. I don't know though. But he's going to be one of the chalkiest plays on the entire slate, which is weird because he's not. I don't think he's going to play much more than 25 minutes, and I don't know. I think that's kind of shaky chalk, to be honest with you.
I agree. Not to cut you off, Tim, but I was looking at his usage. I have it pulled up, and it's not good. He's got the lowest usage on the team for Phoenix. The lowest usage in the team, 11.5%. And I was thinking to myself, like, if this guy is going to be anywhere near chalk, and I guess he can rack up some stocks, that kind of thing. I was looking at his college stuff. Per 40, averaged I think 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks.
He went to Marquette, right?
Yes, I didn't know that, but that's what I learned. I think it was Marquette. Yeah. I was looking at the stats. I don't watch college basketball, but he fits right in though. If he can't shoot, that works. That makes sense. That checks out. But if he's 12% usage guy, like get out of town. There's enough value, and I don't need that. And the matchup against Orlando is not something I need either. I don't want to mess with the Magic necessarily, but I understand why he's projecting well. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Tim.
No, it was all good. And then I think I'm just kind of looking at the core plays, and Jared McCain is going to be a really, really strong play tonight. And when I just ran Sims, he's my highest exposed player is Jared McCain, so I think he's still a very, very strong play at 5,800.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Probably I haven't looked at the odds for rookie of the year. I know I bet Sarr at the beginning of the season. I just thought there was a good number on it, but I assume he's climbing his way up there, just ascending for Philadelphia in the absence of Maxey. I'll be curious to see what happens when Maxey comes back, when Embiid comes back, when George is there. But he's certainly bought himself some minutes here, bought himself some run in the absence of Embiid. Of course, Maxey's still out. The matchup versus Miami these days is like pretty neutral. Like Miami historically is a defense you don't want to mess with, but they were once a 3-point funnel as well. Still can be. I think it's an awesome chalk piece. Is the long story short. I think McCain is still too cheap considering all the things we're talking about. Bobby, what do you got as far as big slate? I don't want to leave you out of the conversation before we dive in and do a little game by game. Anything you have your eye on? I was looking at the if-then stuff. We do have an if-then set up for if Miles Turner is out. As we kind of mentioned, Obi Toppin would look really good. Walker would look pretty good. Koulibaly is questionable for what it's worth. I don't think that's a big deal. I think Washington is one of the more uneventful teams in the slate. Koulibaly, they gave him a head on the injury report. So he's questionable tonight. Anything else of note? Those are our official if-thens. There's some other stuff that we'll kind of get through. Bogdanovich for Atlanta is not on the injury report. That's interesting. Maybe he makes assuming he makes a season debut tonight. I've not seen it. If I assume our projection team is giving him some minutes there on FanDuel. Krejci is still out though. Krejci's out because of a rest, I believe. But Bobby, what do you got? Big picture wise, what are we looking at as far as the slate tonight?
Yeah, the indie guys stand out for sure. Jarace Walker, McConnell, Jared McCain, just like you guys hit on. I think Jared McCain is actually currently the favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that pop up in my Twitter feed. I actually have some interest in the game where I would imagine we're going to start with the Bulls in Detroit. I don't know if you want to just get right into it, but I really like Cade Cunningham for tournaments tonight. Really like Cade Cunningham. From there, just other players I have interest in that just generally on the slate. Franz is what are we doing with Franz? Every night I feel like he's going off.
He's awesome.
He's with Banchero out, he's been fantastic. Feel like he's someone I want to have an allocation to. Only playing one team tonight, so playing the majority of playing NFL more.
You're back in those showdown streets, aren't you, Bobby? You win 70K or 75K, you're back. Now you got some fun, a little extra money to play with. And
is back in the showdown streets tonight for sure. The slate in general, basically, I think Turner is a good play if he plays. I know he's questionable with the calf. Just awesome going back to Sabonis, where everyone's going to just think about, okay, Sabonis revenge. Good spot for Sabonis. Great spot for Sabonis.
You're thinking of Pascal?
It's also Halliburton revenge on the other side, correct? But yeah, I
you got your games confused, Bobby. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I got my games confused. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, it's Indiana versus Toronto. You're thinking of Pascal Siakam.
Siakam revenge. Yeah, but yeah, basically, I don't know. For me, it's more of just pretty much getting to the indie guys, and that's going to be it. I'm only playing one team, so we'll see.
I got bad news for you, Bobby.
What?
Everybody likes Cade Cunningham tonight. You're talking about him in tournaments. I'm playing him too, but he's going to be one of the most popular players in the slate. Just a heads up.
Great spot versus the Bulls. So
it's still a good play, I think, though.
Yes, yeah. But he was saying, he's like, I'm going to play him in my one lineup. I'm playing on my one lineup too. It's so, spoiler alert, I bet Tim's playing him too. Tim?
I haven't decided yet.
What?
But I don't.
Dude.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of point guards, Dean.
Well, what if I told you? I think I have a blurb, actually. Hold on. Let me see if I can buy some time and get my Cunningham blurb.
Oh, my word. Incredible.
So I just can't stop picking on the Bulls as they play at the NBA's fastest pace while having the sixth worst defensive rating. Cunningham averages the 5th most drives per game this season amongst all the NBA, 17.3 to be precise and all technical. And the Bulls, you know this, Tim. Bobby knows it too. The Bulls, they have no rim protection, no rim stoppers. They give up the most points inside the paint. That's 59.6 points. Cunningham has thrived. He's thrived this year under new coach JB Bickerstaff, as he has career highs in points, assists, rebounds, and minutes per game. Add it all up, Cunningham has averaged an impressive 1.31 DK fantasy points per minute, 1.39 FanDuel fantasy points per minute. And the Bulls, they are just a sieve for fantasy points. The Bull, they're in the back half of a back-to-back. They traveled as well. You could say they rested last night in the court. Houston just absolutely shellacked them. But how do you like that, Tim? Right off the dome, all that stuff was in my head. Were you persuaded by those stats?
No, I mean, I still think he's a good play. We got a really, really interesting question in the chat. Do we think Cat is a better play than Cade? Because I'm curious. I kind of think Cat is a better play.
Tibbs is out of his mind. He just
I know
at the minutes. You can only project the minutes so high, right, for these players, and we're projecting 38 for Bridges, 38 for Hart, 38 for OG, 35 Brunson, 35 Cat. But these guys are playing like 44 minutes. It's outrageous. And you can't project that. And imagine getting 8 more minutes than projected. And we'll talk about Bam in a second too. Bam's minutes have been outrageous to play too. I think part of that, your question, is contingent upon Miles Turner, because if Miles Turner's a go, he's probably the better dollar for dollar play, if you want to work it that way. But Tim, I think I'm going to have, and I don't like doing like attacking slates like this, but I'm going to probably have at least one Nick in every lineup and one pacer in every lineup. That'll probably happen like just because, but I think I want to force that. I think I want to make sure that happens.
I wish I took your advice on the Sunday slate and did that with the Lions for NFL.
The Lions. Yeah. I wish I did. I wish I took my advice and multiplied it by 3. I said, I want to have at least one line in every single line. Should have made at least 3 lines in every single lineup because, man, good Lord.
I wish I had played the last guy that I recommended, Taysom Hill.
Oh my God. Yeah. I had some Taysom, and man, I don't want to rehash. You know how it is in DFS, and like I don't even know if Bobby did this the other day. When Bobby took down like 75K, when you win $1 million, it's like okay, you win $1 million, you can actually be satisfied, you're relaxed. I imagine I've never done it before, but like even when you win, I had a positive day yesterday. It was good, but it's like man, if only I did this and this, it would have been so much better. Like you can't even enjoy it. You're still just finding ways of like, man, it's.
I didn't really do that because I got incredibly lucky. Lucky.
Yeah. TJ hanging out in chat. He says, if I play it, I'm on Raw over CMC and I'd have won the Million Maker by 11 points. I'm sick. And I was talking to TJ a little bit, and he had a positive day. Like he had a good day, but he's miserable. He wakes up today and he's sick. Like he's sick to himself because he only won, I don't know, a couple thousand loonies and toonies. I have no idea what he won. And good for him. He had a successful day. But, it's like, oh, man, I could have won this if I was just not a complete dope. And, those 51-49 decisions, you never really know.
Did you just add the Sky Social to your tag on the video?
Just right this second? No, I did not. You just noticed it for the first time. My hands have been here the whole time. You think I'm having the conversation? I'm multitasking. No, I just it's been there the whole time. It's been there for several days. It was there Sunday too, I believe. So yeah, it's there. Feel free to give me a follow, Bobby. I'm still waiting for your follow.
You're graveling for follows. Wow. I hate to see it.
If you do it sarcastically, it's okay. I was being sarcastic. All right. I think I was being that was the intent. Okay, Bobby, you said you're excited to talk about the Bulls and the Pistons. That's the very first game. The only game at 7:00, right? The only game at 7:00. Chicago, Detroit. I kind of sort of somewhat like punting the 7:00 game if I can. Obviously, if you're on FanDuel, news is of importance too, but because who knows about that late stuff. I don't think I'm punting this game because I don't know if you guys have heard. Kid Cunningham looks spectacular. 234 is the total. Detroit is a 5-point favorite here. Chicago back half of a back-to-back and travel. I believe that Detroit is also in the back half of a back-to-back. Again, 11 of these teams, 3 quarters almost, played yesterday. It's going to be a mess potentially. But, as far as the injuries, as far as the body parts, Detroit essentially fully healthy, no THJ, no Jaden Ivey. No, they're both in. I'm sorry, they're both probable. The one is Thompson, who we haven't seen all season long. And as far as the Bulls, they're clean unless something, nothing new. Lonzo, of course, is out, but nothing new as far as the Bulls. Bobby, talk about the Pistons and the terrible, terrible Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, 3 players I have the most interest in. One being Cade. In like the last week and a half, he has 4 triple doubles. So like, I'm all in on Cade. We talked about the rim defense not being there for Chicago. I just think he's fine. Obviously, the field's come around to it. So, but even as chalk, like I'm all over it. Vucevic, Duran's been getting killed defensively, and Vuce is obviously a guy who has a great offensive game and can take advantage of that. So I don't mind him. Jaden Ivey for the same reasons as Cade. He doesn't have a probable tag, but I'm sure he's fine. 6,400. Like doubling them up, Cade and Ivey together. Don't mind that. And then I think Giddey at 6K is fine. Although I think he got pulled the other night, but I'm not positive. Or he didn't.
Well, everybody got pulled last night.
I think there's some rumbling that Giddey might not start anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would start in front of Ayo?
Yeah.
Yep. That's who Ayo came in from. I'm pretty positive.
Does it matter? Like, is it make it? I mean, Ayo's not like dirt cheap. You know, would it make a big difference to you guys? I'm not really on Giddey.
No.
Of note, worth noting.
Yeah. I don't think it changes a whole lot.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at. What do you got, Tim? How do we feel about the Pistons and the Bulls? And like Chicago, again, being a sieve inside, Jalen Duren is just he's so hard to roster sometimes, right? Because he did it yesterday. He got his 3 quick fouls and he goes to the penalty box and we never see him again. He still got a double-double in like 15 or 20 minutes, whatever it was. That he lives inside the paint, and that's where the Bulls are most vulnerable. So I guess he's in the conversation. He's not my favorite center. Probably not going to make my first 2 or 3 lineups or 5 lineups. Let's just put that in the back of the bucket, I suppose. Yeah, Tim, Pistons, Bulls, what do you got?
Yeah, when I ran Sims, did not get a lot of Jalen Duren, only got about 4%. Same thing with Hardaway, but I got an absolute ton of Cade Cunningham. I got a ton of Tobias. I got more than I thought of Jaden Ivey also, and I got some. I think around 14% of Simone Fontecchio, who's the min price at 3K. So really? I think he's pretty interesting. I mean, we have projected for 11% of ownership. I think he is going to get a little bit of ownership tonight. So, definitely. I mean, the Bulls play at the fastest pace. They're a bottom 6 defense. This all signs point towards the Pistons in this spot. Obviously, Cade is the priority spend. I do have, I don't know, Tobias to me seems more of like a cash game play than like he's actually going to like break the slate and you need him to win a tourney. But I could obviously be wrong about that. I mean, he's only 6,300 on DK. He's probably not somebody that I'm going to roster. I think for me, I might try to go like a Cade and Ivy. Maybe that will be a little bit unique. But I don't mind getting to Kobe White and Zach LaVine. I'm looking at my top sim rated lineups right now. I'm getting to a lot of White and LaVine with some Pistons in there. So I think that an interesting like 2-2 stack in this game would be good for GPPs.
Yeah, my only counter here, Tim, is kind of the theme of the show is you talk about backloading, especially on FanDuel, and you mentioned like Fontecchio. Like Fontecchio is like not somebody I want to be locked into when Miles Turner is ruled out and like Obi Toppin's right there. You know what I mean? Like I do not, because then you're really, really fighting an uphill battle there. It's probably not going to work out well for you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, this game is not as attractive on FanDuel. I mean, just straight up.
Yeah, or even DK though. I think I would not want to be. Fontecchio is projected for like 16 points or so. I know he's still a minimum, but I just think I could do better. Is sort of like my approach.
Yeah. I don't hate that take.
All right. It's interesting running some stuff right now. Some of the cheapies that are popping in. There are some other names that are. We have a really good projection. We'll talk about Duncan Robinson. I didn't realize how good his projection was. Miami is without some of their wings, so it's just a really dicey rotation. They're not the next game, but they're the next game. But what is next is clue number 2. Clue number 2 for Movie Monday. It's scrolling right now. Clue number 2, number 1, of course, is unmoving. Clue number 2 is point. Unmoving and point. Tell me what movie I'm talking about. tell me in the Discord channel and get yourself a free week of RotoGrinders Premium. It is not buried. I see Coach Wilcox says buried here in the Discord channel. It is not Mannequin or Stand By Me or Home Alone or Edge of Tomorrow or Requiem for a Dream. That is a great, it's none of those, but thanks for playing. Good effort.
I think ChatGPT got it.
Let me know. Put it in our private chat. Let me know, and I'll tell you if it's got it or not. And we'll hook it up with a free week of RG Premium. I don't know what Sword in the Stone is, Peterman, but it is not Sword in the Stone. Bobby,
a movie that you've never heard of, Dean?
I've never. Yeah, should I be aware of Sword in the Stone? Is that something I should be aware of?
I'm just surprised. That's all.
There are movies I haven't heard of for sure. It's not Leprechaun in the Hood either, and I've heard of that. That's got Jennifer Aniston in it, and I think Ice-T maybe. Yeah, do not recommend it. Do not recommend Leprechaun in the Hood. Okay, let's move on to game number 2. Washington and New York. 234 is the total. New York is a monster favorite here. About a 15-point favorite as far as who's in and who's out in this one. This is 7:30. Again, only one 7 o'clock game. Bilal Coulibaly has got that head, so he's currently questionable. Miles McBride is out for New York. It's going to be New York running their basically 6-man rotation, which is just bonkers. It's just to prioritize wins this early in the season. Who am I to question Coach Tibbs? But yeah, we're only giving 38 minutes to Bridges and Hart and OG, 35 to Brunson. Cat, who was dealing with an injury a couple days ago, 35. We are extending it. I guess we're giving Matt Ryan 2 just for fun, just in case they dust him off. Kolek. But yeah, it's essentially 5. I mean, and then the 2 guys off the bench playing 18 minutes, Sims and Payne. Yeah, Bobby. Good matchup here against Washington. The minutes are outrageous. The prices have adjusted. We talked about Cat earlier in the show. He looks like one of the best plays on this slate. Yeah, it's just all the minutes and a good matchup, and that's that. How do I feel about New York first, Bobby?
Definitely love Karl Anthony Towns. Great matchup versus Washington on the inside. He's been on absolute fire. 50-plus DK points in 7 of his last 9 games. Tough to get away from Towns here. Bridges, it's an up-tempo. It's a good matchup for Bridges as well. In a similar type of game environment, he showed a ceiling versus the Nets, so I'm interested in him. You can make the same case for OG Anunoby. And Jalen Brunson, you can always play Jalen. He would fall behind those 3 for me. But I feel like if you're picking between him and Cat, it would be Cat, but Jalen's probably going to be the lesser of the 2 owned, so it might be an interesting pivot in tournaments. That's pretty much where I'm at. I don't have a ton of love for Washington. If you want to play Jordan Poole, I think that's fine, or Kuzma. I think that's fine. The Knicks are playing pretty slow, so yeah, I think they're fine as tournament runbacks, but nothing I'm going out of my way to get to.
This is sort of like, when the San Francisco Giants go to Coors Field, right? Where, New York is the slowest paced team in all of basketball, second slowest to Brooklyn. And Washington is the second fastest, right behind Chicago. Not only are they the second fastest, but they have the worst defensive rating in all basketball right now, right in front of Utah and Toronto. So, I mean, this is the recipe. All the minutes, Tim, against the team that plays essentially the fastest, against the team that plays the worst defense. And, when will Tibbs show mercy? Because we've seen it before where he keeps his guys in, even at 22, 23. It's like, dude, take Cat out. It's 3 minutes left. You're up 30. And he just doesn't do it. He's like, sweep the leg, Cat. Does not show any mercy at all. But it is the back half of a back-to-back for both these teams of note, I suppose. Yeah, you got to like New York stuff, Tim, I think. Washington. By the way, Malcolm Brogdon's back. Just to shout out. Just a heads up. If you see him on the court, don't be surprised for Washington. We're not playing him, but just acknowledge his presence, I suppose. Yeah. Tim, Washington and New York?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Cat is in a fantastic spot. I'm assuming like in cash games, you should probably be playing Cade and Towns as your, priority spend ups. I really like Anunoby at 6,400. He's coming in with a little bit more ownership than I thought, but I got to a lot of him in Sims, which makes a ton of sense. I think this is a really good spot for him, and I think he's a little bit too cheap. Josh Hart is obviously like the safer play, but I think you could really play any combination of these 5 starters. But Cat's going to be like your more optimal play, and Hart will probably be like more of a cash game play. But I do like OG quite a bit for GPPs. I'm with Bobby for Washington. Like, I don't really have much of any interest in any of these Washington players. I don't even think if Koulibaly sits, that really is going to make that much of a difference. So I'm pretty much out on Washington.
We have an if-then set up for if that situation happens, if Koulibaly doesn't play, and still nobody projects as a positive value. Yeah. Kuzma would be 30 minutes, 34 DK, 32 FanDuel. Pool, 33, 32 FanDuel, 32, 3 DK. Nothing. It's just they still have too many guys, it seems like. Like Brogdon's back, and we're giving him 23 minutes in the back half of back-to-back. It's a whole lot of nothing, and it's a mega downgrade as far as pace as well. I don't like to say, like, I don't want to play anybody in that team because I'm not in the brain of, like, someone making 150 teams. But, like, I'm only making a few, and I don't want to say for sure because I don't like speaking definitives, but come on, I'm not playing anybody in Washington unless really some goofy news drops. Anything else here, boys, as far as New York and Washington, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on.
Let's see. Patrick Williams officially available for Chicago. They said THJ will start if he plays. Good for him. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did you guys see? You're talking to him about the shot. You see that his head hitting. It was like in fast motion. It looked really bad when his head hit the court. He's been out close to a week or so.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was concerning for concussion stuff, but I assume he is good to go now. But that was the video. That was pretty tough, and glad to see he is back. Let's see. Philly Laker is guessing the color of money. It is not the color of money. It is not Snatch, the Brad Pitt vehicle. But yeah, keep firing off your guesses. Let's go ahead and drop clue number 3 for the people. Clue number 3. This is where it starts getting dicey, starts getting interesting. Now all of a sudden you got a chance. Bobby, ChatGPT was wrong. I saw you guess.
That was just one of the guesses.
Well, wait, ChatGPT just throws out like it's just MMEs as far as the guesses.
Yeah, we have like 5 guesses, but that was just one of them.
And just as a heads up going forward, Bobby, general rules with Movie Monday. I'm not going to put the in the clue is not going to give away a word in the movie title with the second clue. You know what I mean?
There are all these disclaimers, Dean. I don't understand the game.
Well, I didn't want to be rude about it, but it's kind of common sense.
I don't know. You're being pretty rude about it. So
I did it. You're forcing me to be rude. But like, why would you put the name of the movie in the second clue? Maybe if you're going to do that, and I probably wouldn't do that anyway. But if I would do it with like the 5th word, right? Then where I'm just kind of spoon feeding it. In any event, the last word, the 3rd clue, is trust. Trust is the 3rd clue. So there you go. D-Rock guessing a few good men. And Bobby, you can't handle the truth. This game, it's not as rigged. It's just not rigged. You can't handle it. You want to start your conspiracies. I promise you, it is definitely not rigged, and it's not the day after tomorrow.
Someone got it?
No. People are guessing, though. There are some guesses coming on through. Nobody's got it just yet. It is not Southpaw either. Is that the boxing movie with I think it was a boxing movie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Boston version, right? Wasn't that Gyllenhaal was like a Boston boxer? Am I making that up?
Putting it in the chat.
Oh, you got the answer? All right. Philadelphia, that is not correct. Philadelphia and the Heat go back to ChatGPT.
Wait, there's one more. There's one more.
That's not either, but I do appreciate the guesses. It's not Gravity or Inception. 76ers in Miami to take on my Miami Heat. By the way, the Heat are playing tonight. They're playing tonight, and they don't play basketball again until Friday. Isn't that weird? It's kind of strange, right? Why are they getting 3 days off? I don't know. But they played yesterday, and they got 3 days off, and they don't play again until Friday. 76ers at Miami, 211 is the total. Miami is a 5-point favorite. Philadelphia, you know the deal. I guess Embiid not officially ruled out, but they said he's doubtful. He's ill. I assume he's not playing. Miami, Jimmy Butler is back. But Jaime Jaquez is out, and Terry Rozier is out. So we'll talk about Bam in a second. But actually, I'll throw this to you, Tim. Do you see our projection of Duncan Robinson's pretty healthy? And he's pretty cheap. So he's kind of sort of somewhat popping. I don't know how I feel about Duncan Robinson chalk, if that's the case. General rules, another general rule for you, Tim. But I generally don't like to play somebody who's really chalky that's reliant to some degree on making threes. And that's kind of what Duncan Robinson is.
He's very reliant on making threes. Like he's extremely reliant on that. Yeah, I thought our projection was pretty hot on him. But yeah. I mean, I might even like bump him down if I was making portfolio teams. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, he could crush. I think we have him projected for 26 minutes. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't love it. So I think I'm going to fade him as of right now. So I don't know. I think I'm going to fade him in single entry.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm at just yet. I think he's fine. Like, he's only 3.9 on DK. I think that's where you're playing him, right? Where you get the 3-point bonus as well.
Yeah, I don't even. I'll check what his
4-2 on FanDuel.
4-2, yeah.
But you also got those Kings to play with on FanDuel.
Right. I just don't think he's really. I don't think he's necessary on FanDuel like at all. Like you don't really need that salary saver. DK, I guess you could make the argument that you kind of do, but I mean we have pretty cheap Pacers already, and we might be getting more. Mm-hmm. So right now, he's not going to be in my single entry team.
Have you guys seen Bam Adebayo's minutes the last 5 games? If you haven't, I'll read them for you. 40, 39, 44, 39, 39. The 44 was overtime. The others weren't. Jimmy Butler is back. But we are getting 2 other players, role players out, Rozier and Jaquez. If you kick them off the court, it's a super, super small sample. If you kick them off the court, an 11.9% usage bump up to 33%. Also, Bam is pretty good at rebounding the basketball. The Sixers have been the second lowest percentage team as far as rebounding the ball. So pretty decent chance to get your double-double as well. I think he's an interesting pivot, off of Cat for tournaments, and potentially an interesting pivot off of Miles Turner for tournaments. I wouldn't play him for cash because both those guys are better plays, but also you're going to get low ownership here. Tim, you got to take as far as Bam?
Yeah, I have absolutely no issue with that. I think that's a pretty decent idea in large field GPPs. I'm always a fan of Bam. Always seem to get him wrong though. I never seem to land on his huge ceiling games. I'm curious about. I know I'm switching gears here, but I'm curious about Andre Drummond at 5,600. Like he is not. I don't know. He is not. He does not look like the same guy. But I mean,
he's been terrible.
He could easily get over 35 in this spot, right? I mean, he's been really bad lately. But if he actually plays his 26, 27 minutes, I think it's a fairly decent spot for him.
Well, that's part of it is that, he hasn't been doing that. Yabusele has outplayed him several times this year where either Drummond would start and then Yabusele would start the second half, or Yabusele, Dancing Bear would close. He would close the game. So he's just been better. Like, it's not arguable. Like, Yabusele's been better. Does it mean that Drummond's not going to be good enough this game where he sticks around and plays 26 minutes? No. But so far, he's just been outplayed by his backup. And I think Yabusele is probably the more interesting piece amongst the two. Also because he's power forward / center eligible and not strictly center and center only. So that's my take. I would prefer to play Yabusele if I'm playing one of those two. But want to bring in Bobby as far as Miami and Philly.
Yeah.
What do you got?
It would be Jared McCain for me. I think you can get to Jovic at that price at 3,700. Andre Drummond, we talked about, like, 56 is a good price, but like, what is he really now? I think it was over the summer I read that he said he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that's happening anytime soon. Yeah, maybe Josh Richardson at 3,700. I think might be an interesting tournament play at that price. That's really it for me. Jared McCain is by far the standout.
So the funny thing, Bobby, you mentioned that Drummond should be in the Hall of Fame, and here's what I will say. Here's what I'll contend. If he was born 30 years ago, he would be in the Hall of Fame right now. It's just he wasn't born 30 years ago, and like he would have crushed in the 80s, right? In the 80s and the 90s, he would have been awesome. He would have been like Patrick Ewing, basically. But unfortunately, he was born too late. And he's done a great job as far as making a career out of what he has. But, Tim, is that a hot take? I don't think that's a hot take.
I don't think that's a hot take. Nope.
Yeah, he would have been like a superstar in the 80s. There you go. But unfortunately for him, and again, he's making more money, though. He's making more money as like a mediocre to average player than a Hall of Famer would have 25 years ago or so. So, yeah, did you give your McCain take, Tim? I know we were talking about some of the other pieces. Is he likely to land on your one lineup? So
yeah,
he's going to be popular.
He's very likely to land on it. I mean, he's shooting an absolute ton. He's only 5,800. He has beaten some really, really strong defensive opponents. So I'm not really worried about this slower paced matchup. I mean, he shot the ball, his last 5 games, 17, 26, 16, 18, 17. I mean, he's a chucker, right? I'm completely fine playing him. Yeah, even if he's going to be popular.
Jameson correcting me and yes, he was born 30 years ago, Drummond. 30 years before he was born. It's actually a very good point. It's a good actually. It's a good getting all technical on me. Yes, if he was born 30 years before that he was actually born, then he would be in the Hall of Fame. But yes, I guess he was. He's probably about 30, 31, 32 at this point. Yeah, that's a fair point. Gladiator is being guessed here in the chat. It's not Gladiator. It's not Air. It's not Triple Frontier. Triple Frontier. Is it like one of those Netflix movies? It's not Halloween either. Let's go ahead. Let's give the people clue number 4. This is where we separate the winners from the losers. We're going to get a winner here. I think we'll see. The par was what? You got ChatGPT fired up, Bobby?
Yep.
Yeah, par was 3 or 3.5. I think par. The over under was 3.5, but I guess it's going to be over. Clue number 4 is utter. Utter as in UDDER. Understand the spelling, how that changes things. Unmoving, point, trust, utter. UDDER. All right.
Okay, I have it.
I'm guessing other people are going to get it too, but I don't know. We'll see. We have some guesses coming in. That is not correct, Bobby. You were so excited. I thought you were. I was excited for you. It is not. It is not
3.5 can't be par if ChatGPT can't get it in 4 guesses.
I feel like somebody's going to get it here, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It certainly does happen. Final word as far as Miami and the 76ers. But by the way, Tim, at any time, feel free to play as well. I know you're not a big fan of fun, but feel free to type in our private chat and take any guesses. Bobby's firing away. But feel free, Tim, if you want to play the home version, by all means, go for it. We didn't mention Tyler Hero. He's just sort of there. I think he's fine, right? If you're running 150, he's got to be in your pool, I think. Jimmy, do we expect a big game out of Jimmy his first game back in around a week or so?
No.
Probably. Revenge.
I don't love it. Oh, I did forget to mention Paul George on FanDuel is pretty much a must play. He's one of these guys I'm definitely going to be playing early. I think he's only 7,300 on FanDuel, so definitely a guy you want to get a lot of exposure to over there. I don't think he's horrible on DK either. So yeah, he's 7,300 on FanDuel. So definitely somebody you should be locking into your lineup on FanDuel.
I agree. He's a really strong play. I don't know if I want to say must, Tim. I don't know if I want to say must. You could say must. I don't want to take it away from you. I think he's a really strong play. You're saying must.
I'm going to say must.
When you say must, you're saying you're making one lineup and you must play him, or you're saying you must be in your pool for making like 4 or 5 lineups? What do you mean by must?
When I say must, he's definitely going to be in your cash games, definitely going to be in your single entry, and definitely somebody that I want to be overweight in tournaments. Doesn't mean you have to go all in, but definitely want to be overweight him. Even as chalky's going to be on FanDuel, which is going to be, he's 35%. So I would say if I was making 150, I'd get to like 50 to 60%.
Fair enough. All right. Pacers, Toronto. I was hoping we would get news, and we don't. We don't have news just yet as far as what's going on in Indiana. We're probably going to get, game time decision, 7:30. So probably at 6 o'clock, we're probably going to get game time decision for Miles Turner. It's typically when you get the updates or lack thereof, 90 minutes before the game starts. But yeah, the big one is Miles Turner is questionable with a calf, midday downgrade. They're already without 3 players. Shepard is not playing. He's got an oblique. Nembhard's got, not sure what he has. He's got some body part. He's not playing basketball tonight. And then Naismith is out as well. Nothing new for Toronto. I think it's still just 10 dudes on Toronto. Pretty tight rotations over there because their options are limited. But, Tim, I'll throw this to you as far as the Pacers. And it is kind of an if-then stuff. Like, if Turner goes, I think he looks spectacular here because, they lost 2 of their big men right out the gate to start the season. He's been playing more minutes of late. His minutes have been pushed up. There's not much bigs as far as behind him. Obi Toppin, James Johnson. They really, Pascal can play some 5. But, where are you at as far as Indiana? We threw out the TJ McConnell earlier, who we're not projecting to start, but we're projecting to play about 25 minutes or so. Decent chance he closes. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on. Talk to me about the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, TJ McConnell is going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate, along with McCain. So 4,100 point guard only. Definitely, I don't mind him as chalk. I don't think he's necessarily like he's definitely a cash game play. But I mean, this really depends on Turner's situation. If Turner's in, I like Turner quite a bit. I don't mind getting to some Tyrese in tournaments. This whole team, really, the starting 5 with McConnell is firmly in play. If Turner's out, Obi Toppin becomes a top value, assuming he's going to be the starting center. And then if Siakam really stays around that 12% to 20% range, I love him in GPPs. So, I mean, this is definitely a game that you're going to want to get exposure to. The Toronto's got the 3rd worst defense in basketball. So, I mean, definitely, like Dean said early on, get to at least maybe make a rule say get at least 2 if Turner's out. I don't know, but at least make a rule to get at least 1 pacer in every lineup.
All right, pulling up the if-then here for this. I know we had one set up. I'm just trying to find it here on the fly. So if we lose Miles Turner, as far as DK values, McConnell will project for 24 minutes, around 29 FanDuel, 29 DK points. Halliburton looks perfectly fine, around 44, 42. Obi Toppin, I think, is the big one that gets the bump. He would get 33 projected minutes. We are giving James Johnson 2 just for fun. You're not playing James Johnson. I can't imagine a world where you do that, but I was just trying to think of how we get those minutes filled out. Mathurin look really good too. We have him for 37 minutes if we lose Turner. So obviously a big deal. We talk about Walker as a potential cheapie. We get bumped up to 28 minutes. He looks like he's in play right now, fringe play for me. And we'll see if we lose Turner. Bobby, your thoughts as far as the Pacers, and feel free to jump over to Toronto.
Yeah, Jarris Walker, if Turner ends up being ruled out, I think is probably the best play. Just the usage increase has been really good with Turner out this year. So I think he would be my favorite, followed by McConnell. And if Turner's in, I really like Turner. Like, I would want to be getting to him versus the Raptors, who don't play great rim defense. So if he's in, I think he's a very strong play. I would flip Halliburton and Siakam because I think you're flipping the build when you do that. So if you play Halliburton and everyone goes to Siakam with the narrative and all that other stuff, I just think you're getting a lower owned Halliburton. Yeah, he's 1,000 more, but It's just a way to be different, and you're still getting exposure to a really good team. Chris Boucher at 4,400, I think makes a good bit of sense on the Raptors. I think he would be my favorite. You could always make a case for RJ Barrett. Not as interested in total, but maybe have more interest if Toppin is starting and Turner is out. That's kind of how I'd approach this game.
Yeah, Barrett, potential triple-double wouldn't shock me, right? We have a big projection on him. Of course, you got to pay the iron price for RJ Barrett. He's 8-6 on DK, but projected about 19% ownership right now. FanDuel, where like when Barrett really gets going, it's usually from a stocks perspective. And that's kind of how FanDuel works sometimes. We got him projected for 30% ownership. 7-8. General rules, like, you know, if you're basically the same price or a little bit less on FanDuel, you're probably at value on FanDuel. He's 8-6 on DK, Tim, and Barrett is 7-8 on FanDuel. Like, that is, to me, that looks like an awesome play. Barrett, like you're talking about, I don't like to say what was the word, not lock, but must. I think he must be in your pool on FanDuel, RJ Barrett. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The team that you can play, the Opto teams on FanDuel right now are amazing. It's very, very strong. Barrett and George are in basically all of them. So yeah, I mean, he's another one of these way too cheap on FanDuel players. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely you can play a lot of stars that are way underpriced on FanDuel right now.
Depending what you call a star, and I pulled up our optimal stuff. I ran some optimals with Lineup HQ for FanDuel. De'Aaron Fox, star. Paul George, starish. RJ Barrett, starish. Cat. Like, you can give 4. If you're, I don't know how liberal you are as far as like
I consider those guys. I consider all those guys stars.
Fantasy stars.
Yeah, fantasy stars. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you can get 4. Yeah, Fox, George, Barrett, Cat. Are those the same 4 that keep popping up? Just kind of scrolling on through. Here's one with Wagner. Of course, he's a star. He's spectacular. Bobby alluded to him earlier. But yeah, you can play 4 of these guys because of the value plays we talked about. And McConnell, Trey Lyles. We'll talk about him at some point. If not, Crunch Time's going to talk about him. Duncan Robinson's pretty cheap over there. I prefer, if you're going to play him, I feel better playing him on DK. But yeah, certainly stars and Scrubsy, and you can get more stars and Scrubsy depending on how the news breaks. Speaking of news, we got a winner. We got a winner in the chat. I believe we have a winner. Okay, so how is this going to go down? We have a repeat winner. Casey Douglas got the answer correct. By the way, clue number 5, if you want to play the home version, we can kind of run it out. Clue number 5 is Jinx. Jinx is clue number 5. Now Bobby knows it. Bobby's like, of course. Now Bobby knows it.
ChatGPT is clue number 5.
So yeah, unmoving, point, trust, utter, and Jinx. I think the chat's going to come alive. They're going to know it too.
Did I get it?
Did you type it? You know, I don't. Where'd you put it? In the YouTube chat?
It was already put in there.
Oh no, it's not Castaway, but good effort. It is not Pink Panther either. No, or Hocus Pocus. I'm seeing in Varsity Blues being thrown out there in the chat. The answer
clues are ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous. Did someone get this yet?
Yes. Casey Douglas got it and says he just won it. So he says, let somebody else guess it, but we'll have to do a runoff or something like that. He's passing on it. He's passing it off to somebody else. We'll figure a way to distribute this to somebody else. But shout out to Casey, who's really, really good at this game, apparently, because you're saying it's impossible, Bobby, and Casey just...
He's using ChatGPT 4.
You got to download the new, the most recent possibility, the most recent option. Okay. Nobody's really said it in the YouTube chat either, which is kind of surprising.
Can you just give it? Let the suspense go here.
Let's go ahead and knock out the next game. It's Houston and Milwaukee. It's 224 is the total. Milwaukee is a 3-point favorite. The Bucks taking on the Rockets. Rockets back half of back-to-back. They absolutely destroyed Chicago last night. As far as injuries in this game, really nothing. So which makes this game kind of I don't want to say uneventful, but like nothing is popping here. Of course you could play Giannis. We got Dame back. Dame had that concussion. He's back and good to go. Şengün back. I think it's back-to-back games where he had a triple-double. He had one last night as well. Messed around and just absolutely destroyed Vooch. Had his lunch and everything. FEV, Freddie VanVleet. I watched a good portion of this game, so he was spectacular also. The Bulls also terrible. But, yeah, Bobby, I guess it's like how much you prioritizing Giannis. You have the money for Giannis is the thing. It's not hard to get him. We saw how he went insane. He put up 90-plus burger, almost 100 burger, almost a triple-digit burger in that overtime game versus Detroit. 60-plus points in the bucket, I believe. It was insane. Now Dame is back, so a little bit more usage going to Dame. In tougher matchup here versus Houston. You can get Giannis. It's not that hard. How much are you prioritizing it? And just Houston in general is just not – it's pretty uneventful the way I'm seeing it.
In tournaments, I think you should be over on it just because you can get it, right? He's 12K. People aren't going to spend for it. They're going to go to Siakam. They're going to go to other power forward options. I'm seeing Giannis at under 10% ownership. Like, I'm willing to go there, and they're going to think, oh, Lillard's back. Where I think it's interesting is if you take Fred VanVleet and run it back with VanVleet, and he's getting Lillard defense, this game stays. It's close spread anyways. I think that would be an interesting game stack that you could do and possibly be different on your teams. Lillard's obviously not the greatest defender, and I think VanVleet has been pretty good. So I don't mind that little mini game stack from this game. You could always play Şengün. I don't think I would because Brook Lopez is going to pull him from the basket. It's always a tough situation when Brook is on the other side, but I think Şengün's fine. And Amen Thompson at 5,400 might be my favorite, like value play in this game if you wanted to use him instead of VanVleet.
Yeah, Tim, ownership-wise, we're seeing FEV getting 16% on DK, just 14% for Giannis. Again, not really hard to get to him. He projects pretty well, too. Like, he projects for a 61-point DK median projection at 12K. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Maybe I should. He was in the expert survey today. I was like, he's the person I'm kind of afraid of not having. I still sort of am, and I'll see where I end up. But I'm not opposed if I have the salary and I'm not holding my nose and every other player. It's like, okay, I guess I'll play Giannis. It's fine. Yeah, you tell me. How do you feel about Milwaukee and Houston?
Yeah, I'm with you, Dean. He's definitely the guy that I'm most scared not having. I'm not going to prioritize him in cash or in GPPs. I think there's a more balanced way you can go about building tonight. But for tournaments, I'm not going to tell anybody they can't play him. I mean, he's obviously amazing. He could put up 80 easily. I like different builds better. I think it's peak pricing. Lillard's back. So it's definitely, he's not anyone I'm prioritizing.
All right, let's go ahead and move on and talk about Orlando versus Phoenix here, Tim. Injury reports. Banchero still out, obviously. Wendell Carter Jr. not officially out, but he's doubtful. Do not expect him to play. As far as Phoenix, we have Beal is out, Durant's out, and Nurkic is now out, who's been like in and out, doing the hokey pokey the last week or so, leaving games in the middle of the game. Last night they played Minnesota, and they started two bigs against Minnesota. Didn't work out. They started Plumlee, the Plum Dog, as well as Nurkic against Minnesota. Tonight they get Orlando. They are, 5-point dogs here at home without some of their stars. Orlando, Franz Wagner has been awesome. They're 5-point favorites. 212 is the total, Tim. Not the most appealing number on the board. I think Plumlee enters the conversation as far as centers. Batase is kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Isaac's a good fantasy appointment of player. You never really know how many minutes he's going to play, but if he plays like close to 25, this game is tricky. Because it can go smaller and it wouldn't really shock me, which can, they don't really need Plumlee out there. If Orlando goes a little bit smaller, I'm not sure how this game's going to go, but I don't know. I wish I felt stronger about this one, Tim. We talked about the potential cheapie, the potential value of Oso as well. We're not projecting him to start. And he has a 12-point usage, but he did project pretty well according to our projections. If you need a cheapie, if you need some value, he's somebody I suppose you could look at if you're interested. That's Iguodaro for Phoenix, the rookie. But yeah, Tim, Magic and the Suns, are we enthused or not so much?
I don't think we're enthused, but I think you can get to pieces of this game. Certainly can go Jalen Suggs at 7K. Don't mind that at all. I like your Jonathan Isaac call. I saw that Kirky tagged him in a lineup HQ as well, which I think is a really good call. Power forward center. If you can get up to like 25 minutes again, I think he's a really good play at 4,200. Devin Booker's not going to be owned. We have him at like 1%. So even if that comes up a tiny bit, he's not going to be chalky at all. He's going to be like at most 5%. No Durant, no Beal, no Nurkic. So I mean, it's like who's gonna be shooting the ball in this team? It's gonna be Devin Booker. I know that that's peak pricing for him, but at that ownership, I mean, I know it's a tough matchup, but I mean, even if you got like 5% of him, 1 out of a 20 max or something like that, I think that's a good play. So definitely can get pieces of this game, but I do agree with you. It does not appear to be that fantasy friendly.
What do you think, Bobby? Phoenix, Orlando?
Yeah, so Jonathan Isaac at 4,200. He's been a tough play when he's been valued, but the minutes have came up a little bit recently, so I don't mind him. Phoenix is struggling versus power forwards. I think he's fine as a value. Franz, as long as Banchero's out, he's up to 9,100 at this point. I still think I want to play some Franz, as crazy as that sounds. He's just been so good. Jalen Suggs, I don't think people will play Suggs. I think he's under 10% ownership. Like, if I was playing more teams, I'd be trying to get to Suggs. I think Tyus Jones is an interesting pivot off of McCain in tournaments. I think I'd still really prefer McCain. I think McCain's likely the best chalk play on the slate. That would be where I was going in terms of like Booker and stuff. If he's 1%, obviously you can get over on it. But that's really it for me from this game.
I ran the Court IQ, kicking off Banchero as far as fantasy points. Wendell Carter, I didn't kick him off, but he gets a massive bump. I don't expect he's going to play. I probably should have kicked him out as well because he gets a 10-point bump in usage. Wagner, that's Mo Wagner at 27%. Where is Franz at 31? Yeah, it gets just a 1% bump. I bet if we kicked off Wendell Carter would get even bigger. I would imagine so. But yeah, he's certainly taken a leap this year. Franz, he was good last year, but I think he's even better this year. So you're talking, Bobby, like the price is the tricky part. You're saying there's still some meat in that bone, right?
I think I'm going to play him until I seen someone tweet this the other day. Should we just be locking Franz till he's above 10K? Yeah.
Let's see.
He's going up every slate, and he's crushing every slate. It feels like. You
have a take as far as Goga? It's just I don't know the minutes.
I think there's such an opportunity cost at center. I don't really want to play Goga. I'd rather play Plumlee if I was in that price range.
Yeah, Goga's probably going to split with Isaac, I would imagine. I think that's where basically our projections are as well. And Wagner, of course, too. Mo Wagner, the other Wagner, gets some run too. So I don't know how many minutes he can possibly get. Plumlee, yeah, I think he's got the best chance of getting the most minutes out of those three. Not that he's necessarily the best fantasy point player out of those three, but the biggest potential minutes.
I didn't catch that last part, Dean. I'm sorry.
I just think that Plumlee's probably got the best chance to play the most minutes amongst Bataze and Isaac, but he's also not the best fantasy point minute player amongst those three. So
yeah, that's valid. Yeah.
I keep forcing Goga, and I hate myself for it afterwards.
I never get in the right side of him. That's of Goga. I never get him right. I fade him when he's good. I play him when he's bad.
Yeah,
and it's not that he's ever really bad. He's just you can't figure out the minutes with him sometimes. It's just it's tricky. It's a roller coaster for his minutes these days. We need Wendell Carter to come back so we can ignore the whole situation, and that's what I need at least. So I just don't have to think about him. But I've tried to figure it out, and I've been wrong all the way through. All right. Anybody? Oh, the chat wants to know about the movie. Yeah, I think that's it for the DK slate. We got about 10, 15 minutes until crunch time comes in. Y'all mentioned Kirkwood. Kirkdiese. Kirkdiese is coming on for premium, as well as Kevin Roth, and Jim Turvey will be making his debut as well. So looking forward to that. Several people want to know about the movie. Oh, here, I'll explain it to you. Chat GPT couldn't figure it out. But yeah, the movie clues were as follows. Unmoving, point, trust, utter, jinx. Tim, do you know what the movie is by chance? Did you get it or no? Have you seen it in chat? I saw somebody in chat say it.
I think it's...
Well, don't say if you know.
Oh, don't say it? Okay.
What are we doing?
Okay.
What are we doing? You're giving away. You're telling us now.
No, it was already guessed. We already have a winner. So I just wanted to explain.
No, that's what I'm saying. Just tell us who it is. Tell us what it is.
Well, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just telling you what the clue by clue. Unmoving. One of the actors in this movie. When you're not moving, you're still. You're still. Ben Stiller. Point. There's a pretty famous GIF. There's a GIF from this movie. Maybe producer Steve can throw on the screen. Possibly, maybe, pointing.
This is horrible. These clues are horrible. They're horrible. How was I supposed? ChatGPT couldn't get this.
Some families, Bobby. I don't have a family like this, but some families have a thing called a circle of trust. Circle of trust. I don't know if you guys have a circle of trust. I don't have that. That sounds interesting. Nobody trusts anybody in my family. But yeah, so there's a circle of trust in this family. There it is. Look at this. Producer Steve's all over it. And then utter, UDDER. Bobby, I have nipples. Can you milk me? Remember that line?
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly like that, but it was something like that. Yeah. And then the cat, Mr. Jinx. You remember Mr. Jinx? Jinxie? No? None of this sounds familiar?
No, I remember it. I watched Meet the Parents pretty recently, actually.
So what is your excuse?
So ChatGPT said makes total sense with all these clues. Yeah.
Does it really? That's amazing. Is that something that I don't really play around with ChatGPT? Is that for real?
Yeah. ChatGPT is the best.
That is amazing.
Would you buy a robot, Dean? If when Elon brings out his robots, would you purchase a robot?
What do I need a robot for? Just
to clean your house and stuff.
Well, we have the Roombas. I got a Roomba. We got those.
No, like a real robot.
Oh, like we have to get conversations and stuff.
Yeah, so you can have a friend in the house. Yeah.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm open to it. I'm open to the idea. TJ, by the way, who's never kind to me when it comes to this kind of thing, says, not going to lie, these are genuinely good clues. There you go. Thank you, TJ. The voice of reason. Generally speaking, the slate's so big, we never really get time to get to the FanDuel stuff. We kind of tease the FanDuel stuff. I know, I think Tim is playing over there on FanDuel, so we can talk about it. 236.5, we can't fully talk about it because there's some stuff up in the air. 236.5 is the total here with Sacramento and Atlanta. Sacramento is a 4-point favorite, despite missing some of their key pieces. I do have the most recent injury report as of 5:30. I don't think anything has changed, but we're jumping over there just in case. Let's see. Sacramento, Double D's, DeMar DeRozan's out. Sabonis officially doubtful. He's not playing. I assume he's not playing. I shouldn't say that definitively. And Malik Monk is out. Krejci is not available because of injury management for Atlanta. And they're in the back half of back-to-back, and they're traveling. And Bogdanovich, who I think didn't he used to play for the Kings? This is a revenge game for him, right? First game of the season and a revenge game for Bogdanovich. I don't know how much run he's actually going to get. They got Hunter back as well, so they are getting healthier. Tim, how do you see the Kings and the Hawks?
Yeah, we're giving Bogdanovich 21 minutes. He's 4,500 on FanDuel. I don't think that's horrible. Projecting for like 7% ownership. I don't think that's too bad. Maybe in large field GPPs, I could get to a little bit of him. This is definitely going to be a really good game. A tight spread, high total. We're going to be concentrating more on the Kings side of this game. De'Aaron Fox is an absolute must play. I think Trey Lyles, if he starts, is also. And then I guess you could, I mean, trying to think, like if you can jam in like Trey and Fox as like a contrarian play on FanDuel in large field GPP, I don't mind that. But I don't think you really have to force in any Atlanta players. It's really, I mean, FanDuel is going to be, it's very, very important to like make sure you get your Kings right on this FanDuel slate.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the ownership right now as far as Atlanta and Sacramento. And yeah, Fox is, I don't like saying must, but like he's been insane as far as usage, as far as scoring. And the Hawks just aren't the kind of team that's going to slow him down. He's been, I've watched the past couple of games for Sacramento. He's just been awesome. 58% current ownership right now on FanDuel. Lyles at 44, 34 minutes coming his way. Murray and Herter are a little bit more fragile just because the price is bumped up on them. Murray's now 6.6, Herter 6K. Revenge game here for Red Velvet. Both getting 30% ownership, but they, that's what they're down to. That's basically the core that's going to play some minutes tonight. And then some sort of revolving door of like McDermott and Ellis and McLaughlin. Alex Len, we saw him start that one night, and then just disappear. Pulled a Kaiser Soze on us. You mentioned Atlanta. What is Young? He's not going to be owned, right? I don't think he is.
I don't think. He's not going to be owned. But really, I don't really have any interest in any of the other guys. Maybe Jalen Johnson at 8,600. But I mean, I think if you want to like jam in a Hawk, it's got to be Trey.
Okongwu, you can get a power forward, which I don't hit.
That's his. I'm sorry, that's his DK price. So Jalen Johnson's 8,900 on FanDuel, still too expensive. Trey Young's not 9.3 at 4%. Yeah, I mean, I'd still say the only people I play for Atlanta are Trey and maybe some Bogdanovich.
So Coach Nurse for Philadelphia says that Embiid's going to go through pregame warmups.
Oh boy.
Okay. That means he's not doubtful and questionable, but he wasn't officially upgraded, but that's the way I read that. Maybe he gives it a go, mucks some stuff up for Philadelphia. Who knows how much he could play? I on no planet am I playing Embiid tonight, just to be clear.
According to the beat, he's still listed as doubtful.
Yeah.
Oh, Miles Turner's out.
Okay. So it's Obi Toppin season. Is that what we're saying? And Pascal looks pretty good too.
Yeah.
Obi's the guy, right?
Yeah, and I think Jarris Walker.
Walker gets
Jarris
stronger.
Walker would be my favorite, I think.
Would you like Walker over Obi, Bobby?
I think so. I guess, they'd be very close, but they're definitely, I think I'd like Walker more. 3
Pacers in a lineup, fine?
Yeah.
I think it is, right?
I mean, in this matchup, I think that's completely fine.
4?
I don't know.
I never like doing that.
Yeah, I personally would do 3, but this is a incredibly strong matchup.
That's kind of where I'm at too. DK only 6 games to play with. There's 8 on FanDuel. Probably not 4 on FanDuel because you also have Sacramento to mess with.
Right.
But I wouldn't yell at you if you're playing Walker, Obi, McConnell, Pascal. I'm not going to yell at you. And Halliburton's right there too. Maybe that's the guy you're supposed to play and nobody's going to play amongst. And Mathurin looks great also. That's the way to be sneaky with Indiana, I guess, is to play the not as obvious ones. Yeah. But Indiana looks really good, of course. Before crunch time comes on, I don't know what we can say here, Tim, as far as Golden State and the Clippers. 225 is the total. Steph is questionable. So, what do you do with that? If he doesn't play, of course, that certainly changes things. But I don't know if there's one guy that clearly elevates. Maybe Pods.
It would be Pods for me. He's 4,800. He's shooting guard, small forward eligible. He would definitely be the guy. I think Buddy would be interesting at 5,300 as well. So I mean, that Curry news I think is somewhat important because I think Pods would turn into a really, really strong value play with no Curry. Other than that, Golden State just plays too many players, so I don't want to get too deep into this rotation. And I don't think the Clippers, outside of maybe Harden and GPPs, I don't really have any interest in any of the Clippers.
I was trying to think Trey Lyles versus Pods, but different positions. So I was trying to think of like Pods if Curry is out versus player X. Well, I don't know who player X is. Somebody at a similar position at the shooting guard or small forward that maybe you can pivot to. Does that player exist? Is what I'm trying to figure out. Maybe I just don't see him.
Perhaps Bogdanovich.
Okay. But do you want Bogdanovich in like as a holding pattern in your lineup? You probably don't feel great about that. I don't, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's pretty uncomfortable.
Okay. Bobby, you got anything? I'm not sure if you were prepared. I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you have any thoughts as far as Atlanta and Sacramento, Golden State, the Clippers, anything that you want to share with the people before we bring in Crunch Time? Crunch Time coming in here momentarily.
Definitely get the Kings exposure. Like you guys said, Fox, when I ran Sims, like he just popped significantly on FanDuel. So he's someone that I'd have interest in. Trey Lyles. Duncan Robinson. I think he's interesting as well. So he's shown up well in Sims. Paul George and Jared McCain. I think that's about it. That's like mainly. I'm not playing FanDuel because I can't play in this playing mass. So it is what it is.
Do want to mention we gave out RotoGrinders Premium earlier in the show. You can just go ahead and buy it. Feel free to buy it. Yeah. For a limited time, get your first month of combo access for $79 and change. That is just $5 more than NBA Premium. NBA Premium, you can get it a la carte if you want it, assuming you're watching the show, so you're into NBA. But you get all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, PGA, everything with the exception of NASCAR. Just $5 more for your first month. And should mention shot quality specific to NBA. If you want access to some of the most advanced NBA data in the market, get shot quality projections right there on your lineup HQ, rotogrinders.com/shot quality. Get 1 month, $40, the entire year, 200 smackers. If you want to just give it a test run, you've never seen it before, you're not aware what shot quality is, you want to see how it plays out. 3 days get you in the door for $9.99. Who is breaking the slate, Bobby? Who do you got? Who's your favorite play tonight? Feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be.
Tyrese Halliburton is going to be my play because I think everyone's going to play Siakam. You play Halliburton.
I like that call.
Pivot.
Giannis officially in. Lillard officially in. Neither of those are surprises, but always good to get confirmation. Tim, see Halliburton. Raise him.
I think that is a really good call by Bobby with Halliburton. I really like that one. I'm going to go with Devin Booker.
Ooh, nobody's playing him. Nobody's playing Devin Booker. And he's like the last man standing on that team. Tough matchup, but he's going to be firing away for sure. All right. Crunch Time is fully assembled. Let's go ahead and fire him up. Let's bring in Crunch Time right now. What is up, Kevin Roth? You said your neighbor is already starting with the Christmas shenanigans, the Christmas lights. I shouldn't say shenanigans, but it's too soon, right? It's too soon, and it's about messing with your internet, your lights in some way. What's going on over there?
No, you didn't read that properly, Dean. It's my Christmas lights. People are installing the lights, and they're plugging in too many lights, and it's blowing my fuse, and I keep losing my internet. So that might happen at any moment.
I forgot. Yes, you're a baller, and you pay somebody else to put your lights up for you.
I live in a mansion. Like, I'm not going to do it myself, Dean. Come on.
What is, if you don't mind saying?
How rich? I live in a mansion.
Yeah, that is hashtag how rich. How much does it cost these days to get somebody to put lights up on your house? What is there a going rate? Are they your lights or that you borrow the lights? How does that all work?
They're my lights. $450 to put them up and take them down, and it is like all day. I'm not going to crawl up on my roof 40 feet up on my mansion and put up my own lights. It's insane. It's the best $450 ever spent.
And do you tip a light guy? You give him like $500 and say keep the change?
I hadn't considered it. I might. If they keep knocking out my internet, then no.
Well, you do it in the back end. You don't tip them. I don't think. Well, maybe not. You don't tip them until they take it down, I think.
That's
but
fair.
This is all new.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not how rich. I'm not. I couldn't. I've never had this experience before. I don't know if Kirkwood, if you have a Lite guy. And we also have Jim Turvey making the debut. Sorry to throw you in on this nonsense, but it's just sort of, I saw we were talking about this in the chat. Anybody else have a Lite guy, or is it just me that doesn't have one, or just Roth that does?
I could use a light guy. I'm in an Airbnb right now, and there's no overhead lighting, so I look like I'm surrounded. Like I feel like I'm in a dungeon right now. So if your light guy is free after and wants to do some overhead lighting, you can send him right over here. I think
I'll send him that way, but he is going to blow your internet. So your choice.
My girl's already started putting up lights on where we are. So I don't take that. I don't like that cheap shot you said. It was a little too early, Dean. And me and Roth disagree with that.
Early.
Yeah. If you're a family,
when you have kids, it's all about Christmas. It's all about Christmas.
Mine have been up for like 10 days, Dean.
What? Are you blasting Christmas music too?
I'm not. I am not. No.
You're catching shrapnel though. Somebody in the house is.
Yes.
All right. Fair enough. We just step aside, make way for. Unless you guys got anything else, Tim, Bobby, anything else?
That's it. Good luck, guys.
Good luck, everyone.
All right. Take something down. Let us know if you do so. You got 40 minutes of crunch time starting right now. Kevin Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. Crunch time, taking you up to lock. We're going to take you through lock. We got two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Kirkwood in the house. What up, Kirkwood?
Doing all right, Roth. I just wanted to apologize on behalf of Trae Young the other night. What a horrible performance that was. Terrible. It was
the right call. It was the wrong outcome. It's all right.
Thank you.
I was pushing somebody the other day, and it was Russell Westbrook. It might have been the same day.
Yeah.
My lineup crushed. I just had flames everywhere except Russell Westbrook. He just tanked me, and that was the play that I gave out to everyone. So my bad on that, guys. Hey, I always say two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Well, we get a new sharpest mind in the biz here. First time on Crunch Time. Jim, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Kevin? Chris, good to be on with you guys. Yeah, I'm excited to make the RotoGrinders debut. I've been doing lots of stuff over with Action for a while, but now that I'm doing the projections here, come on, share some insights. Hopefully, got the day off of the projections, so I've just been kind of in the lab doing my own stuff, using the projections obviously, and then I think it's a pretty interesting slate. The cup games they suck up all the oxygen, but honestly, some of these off cup days have been pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, it's some good basketball. I've got some hot takes ready to deliver. Hopefully, you do as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you? What do you enjoy? Something. Give me like a little background so I can mess with you and I know more about you.
I love it. So I'm in Vermont. I feel like that's a really easy state to both make fun of and reference. I grew up in Vermont. I'm actually here just for a couple months though. My wife and I usually live outside of New York City. So that's the standard domain. But we're just up here for a few months and enjoying it back kind of near where I grew up. So big basketball person, big fantasy basketball person, obviously big betting basketball person as well. And yeah, Vermont is the easy thing to pick on. So I'll give you that for now. And then I'll give you little crumbs as we go. I'll give you little other things that you can bring up with regularity as well.
I like it. Okay,
that's the New England dream.
Some Ben and Jerry's, right? Isn't that Vermont? Ben and Jerry's? That's all they got.
It is. It's Ben Jerry's, it's cows, it's Bernie Sanders. Those are like the big three things for Vermont.
That all checks out. Also lovely up there. So hopefully
it is really nice. Yeah.
Enjoy. Hey, we got to dive into this. We've got 35 minutes until we get to lock. And we like to start on FanDuel. We'll go position by position. We'll kick it to DraftKings. We'll do the same thing. And then we will open it up to questions. Jim, as you are the newcomer here, I want to let you lead us off here as you're looking at FanDuel, starting at point guard. What are some of your favorite plays?
Yeah, so I think that the name that's going to pop for everyone with the FanDuel slate being, including those two late games, is going to be De'Aaron Fox. That's going to be the name that I think is going to be in a lot of lineups. His usage is going to be crazy, but I do think there's a potential to zag off of Fox tonight. He's going to be, the Hawks are a great matchup. So, theoretically it should be even better, but they do have one really, really good defender. They have Dyson Daniels. I think they're going to throw Dyson Daniels at De'Aaron Fox every second they can. I think Fox's usage is still going to be crazy. I think he will have a very good game, but I think between the turnovers and missed shot potential of having to carry that offense, I actually think there's some other interesting options. I think Jalen Brunson is a guy who, again, it's almost as good of a matchup as Fox has, but I don't think you're going to see as many people owning him. I think, and he's in let's see, price wise here. He's also cheaper as well. So I really like Brunson instead of Fox as kind of a zag, especially if you're in GPP. Cash game, maybe you want just that really high floor. You can't miss out on Fox, but I really like Brunson. And then I think if you want a cheap option, staying on the same team, so there's no Miles McBride for the Knicks tonight. And so I'm going to be looking at Cameron Payne as like a really, if I need like make a really cheap point guard, I don't want to spend up on that position. I think his minutes could be decent. He's chucking up a lot of threes in recent games. With no McBride, he will kind of theoretically, get those minutes. Tibbs doesn't always like to go to the bench too much. But I think those two Knicks point guard options are pretty interesting looks if you're going to zag off of Fox on the FanDuel slate.
Okay, Jim, I like you already bringing up my favorite player of all time. That Brunson, I thought that was going to be my hot take, and it's the second name you mentioned. So I feel good about that.
That's good, though. That's good. We're locked in.
Kirkwood, what are you doing over there at point guard?
I was gonna say freaking Brunson, but then this guy comes in and steals.
Look at this! Look at this!
But I mean, so there's like 4 choices. So De'Aaron Fox is the best play, quote unquote, for even though he's high price at 9,500. It's just that the massive amount of usage. I also think that even though Daniels is a great defender, I also think that De'Aaron Fox is just so quick that I still think he's going to do well. I do get that thing, and the pivot would be Brunson. You can also play Halliburton for a little bit cheaper now as people start thinning out in this game, and then also Cade Cunningham. I mean, Cade he gets the matchup with the Bulls, which has been gold for fantasy this year, and Cade is just a walking triple-double now, it seems. So I think those are the choices for like the high end. We're on the lower end, we're going to have, we got the value. We've got TJ McConnell, who gets buckets when he gets minutes, right? Like he's great fantasy point per minute, 1.27, and always does well in situations like this. It's also a good matchup, really good matchup. They don't have Nemhard, they don't have Naismith, they don't have they're just missing a lot of guys. So it's Shepherd who started there. So this just frees up the minutes, and he should play a lot. So you got to consider him. And then we also have the Jared McCain again for Philly. Just a kid who's as long as Maxi's out and he's in, he's chucking. So
he really is. He gets the shots up. He does not have a confidence problem.
No. So those are probably best. If you want to get a little off the board, you can go with like a Fred VanVleet.
There it is. Yep. There's the confidence. He shouldn't have that much confidence. That's a little unnecessary, honestly. But at least as a player, I do like him. Hey, we did get a question, Kirkwood. What about Mathurin? We mentioned McConnell. Always. It's a great play, right?
Always. Like right now, like maybe he's gonna get a bunch of ownership, but like when you watch NBA, you want guys who can score, especially when there's a lot of these guys that are out that have been picking up the scoring slack. Like Miles Turner is a significant all-around guy, so it's going to be top end is going to be in there, but like there's just a lot of usage, and Halliburton's better at creating shots for others. So especially this season, his own scoring has been down. So Mathurin's just been as steady as it gets. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Let's keep rolling here. I want to go to shooting guard, and Kirkwood, you can lead us off there.
All right. It's going to be some of the same guys, but so Halliburton, Jalen Suggs, still too cheap at 6,700 for his role. A guy better play on FanDuel usually because he's a guy who can really rack up some steals and some defensive stats. McCain again. Paul George is very interesting. With Embiid doubtful, I'm expecting him not to play, obviously. And then Devin Booker, just a lot of Nurk is out. He's going to be like I think someone said that was that Bobby's play on the show at the end. Someone was talking about him, but he's going to be chucking. So Devin Booker, and then Jaden Ivey is also a good play. If you're not, I think you can play him with Cade, but I probably would prefer not to. And then I'll throw in Benedict Mathurin again, for whoever asked.
Sure. Okay, Jim. 2 thoughts. First, were you sipping on a beer? Did I see an adult beverage? What are we drinking?
Original seltzer.
Oh, that was mildly disappointing, but that is a responsible choice. Good for you. What do we do in a shooting guard is my second question.
Honestly, a lot of similar names. The names that pop to me, Mathurin is first and foremost for me because we talked about usage being available with Turner out. One thing that I think is really interesting about Mathurin, you don't really think about this for a guy who's on the wing. His rebounding numbers are pretty solid. He's gotten 12 rebounds last game and then 2 games ago as well. And with Turner out, they're going to be really small. There are going to be rebound opportunities galore. So I think his shooting could fly up. I think his rebounding could fly up. I think he's kind of the sneaky play. You don't think, the center's out, let me play the 2 guard, 3 guard. I think he is the guy you want from Indiana tonight, especially because some of the ownership might flock to other guys we'll cover later on in this. But I think Mathurin is my favorite play at the 2. I do like Paul George as well. He's 7,300 here. There's some weird news of Embiid maybe playing, so maybe you want to wait on this one. I don't think Embiid's going to go, but with the chaos of Philly, you never really know. But if it's just McCain and Paul George soaking up the vast majority of that usage, Paul George has a usage rate over 30 with Embiid off the court this year in Philly. I think he could put up a really good number for a relatively affordable price there at the 2 guard. And then the only other name there, Duncan Robinson was really popping on the Sims today. I wasn't in there on the projections, but I think that's an interesting name to think about in a GPP type of play with that really high ceiling. If he's hitting, he's rolling. That's the type of play that if the usage isn't what we're like the percent that you're seeing pop in here in lineups HQ, that could be a play that could zag a lineup pretty nice for you.
Very good. Okay, take me to small forward. By the way, Koulibaly is out. I don't know what our interest there is, but certainly worth noting. What are we doing at small forward? And Jim, you can lead us off there.
Yeah, I'll come over here. So in FanDuel, did you lead with a Koulibaly question? I can answer that first if you were talking about that. Sorry.
It's just that he is officially out, according to our guy TJ, who is a Koulibaly stan. So
nice. I do like Koulibaly as well. I think that I don't think that's a massive impact, but I think it only helps the Brunson. I don't think that would have been a direct guard of him, but he is one of their better defenders. So it's just another good defender out for Washington. Maybe it helps Brunson in terms of assists for that game as well. Maybe makes it a tiny bit more likely of a blowout, which maybe swings us back to campaign as a decent cheap option as well. So. The name I'm looking at for small forward on the FanDuel slate is Kevin Huerter, another player who, the most obvious usage guy in Sacramento right now is De'Aaron Fox, but Kevin Huerter had a really nice last game, took 12 threes. Now they get this matchup against Atlanta, where again, Atlanta does not have many good defenders. Any of them that they have are going to be used on De'Aaron Fox. I think Kevin Huerter can really do well in this situation here for the Kings. He's at a decent price as well. And you can't get him in DraftKings too. So if you're trying to do, a little bit of DraftKings, a little bit of FanDuel, and you want to kind of spread things out, I think Huerter's a guy that I really want to have in my lineup. I also think there's a couple of multi-position guys here. RJ Barrett is a name that they were talking through earlier. I really like RJ Barrett tonight. He's fresh off that triple-double. And as good of a matchup as Toronto is for Indiana, the inverse can be said as well. Indy is not a good defense. It's a pace up spot as well. I think RJ Barrett's a really interesting play for this Monday slate.
Okay, very good. Kirkwood, your thoughts at small forward?
All right. Yeah, love RJ Barrett. Also, again, Paul George, Kevin Huerter, revenge, little factor plus everyone being out, with Sabonis and Malik Monk, he's going to be chucking. Franz Wagner, Keegan Murray. It's a really good 3-point matchup for Keegan Murray, and everyone's out. Atlanta, everyone is in play against Atlanta who can shoot threes. So Keegan Murray is one of those guys. Duncan Robinson, we're a little hot compared to like around the industry. So that's an edge if we're right from RotoGrinders. Jimmy Butler is back, but Terry Rozier is out. So, theoretically, he should get a bunch of minutes. He played 31 just in his last game. So, like that call. And then Devin Booker again. Or if you need to, you can always, count on Tibbs to give you minutes. So, Anunoby or Josh Hart.
Yeah. Hart, I was trying to get him on DraftKings. He's way priced up, but it does feel like he is probably in line for another one of those triple double-ish performances. Kirkwood, take me to power forward. What are you doing over there?
All right. Trey Lyles is the cheap value play of the night. I don't know what he doesn't do much besides shoot. I mean, this is a guy who's played 41 and 35 minutes in each of his last 2 games and had 20 and 23 fantasy points. But the minutes are there. They're going to need, some rebounding from him. And, he does shoot the 3. So, like I said, anyone who can shoot the 3 against Atlanta is in play. But the minutes for that price are just there. So he is. I don't have much to say. Just careful about the ceiling. It might be if you like any pivots, then go for it. And pivot, you would come from the same game potentially. If you don't play Lyles, make sure you have Keegan Murray. Jonathan Isaac is kind of like the cash play, but not so great for GPPs because of his minutes limits he's been on. But he did creep up in his last game to 25 minutes. This is a guy who can produce a lot. There's a lot of people out, so I don't mind it tonight. Wagner again. Tobias Harris is in a good spot against Chicago, and then Jarace Walker is the pacer value, one of them. And we should have, what's Obi? I didn't look up Obi's price quickly. Yeah, Obi's in play for sure at 4,100. He's very, very strong play.
Okay. Jim, we got another question about Walker. Kirkwood mentioned him. What's our confidence level there? Because I've got 3 lineups and I've got him in all 3, and I'm wondering if I'm doing way too much there.
Well, I've got him as well. I do think what I'm really curious to see is who is the person whose percentage owned jumps the most. I think it will probably be Toppin. I think Walker probably makes sense as the second highest. There are so many different pacers in play tonight. I do really like Jarace Walker. I think he's kind of the one for me of the 2 of him and Toppin. I prefer Walker, even if his ownership is really high. He's the one who I think that there are the biggest differentials in terms of when Turner's on and off the court. He's the guy who really pops off in terms of getting more rebounds, getting more usage, getting more minutes. The ceiling just moves so much higher with him than I think it does with Toppin. But I think Pascal Siakam is very interesting as well. I mean, we mentioned the revenge game aspect to it. And now that he's got, he is going to be relied on heavily on the glass. Toppin's not an elite rebounder by any stretch of the imagination. So Siakam is one of my favorite plays there, and obviously Walker as well. The other guys I'll say, and this is the FanDuel specific because you don't get these games for DraftKings, but a couple of Warriors players. Now, Steph is probably the biggest name still questionable on the injury report right now. If he is out, that's a little dangerous. Like if we don't get this news before 7:00 lock here, you cut into your flexibility a little bit because I wouldn't really want either of these guys if Steph is in. But Kuminga and Wiggins are 2 guys that, using court IQ, those are the guys that really pop in terms of when Curry is off the court, their usage goes up, their rebounding goes up, their assists go up, their scoring goes up. Everything goes up with those 2 guys. Those are both pretty interesting names. I don't want to my hesitation is I'm scared about locking them against what actually is a pretty solid Clippers defense. And they also played a slow pace. So it's not a great spot if Curry is playing. So if we don't get that news, maybe it's a little bit more risky. I definitely wouldn't do it in cash games. But I think those are 2 names that are interesting for bigger tournament slates if we can get some Curry news here before lock.
Okay, makes sense. Take me to the center spot, Jim.
Yeah, center spot. This is a spot I've been eyeing for a hot minute here. Jakob Poeltl is having outstanding season this year, and now he gets to go up against this Pacers front line. I was circling this before. I actually almost wish that Miles Turner was playing because I think that Poeltl's usage will go up at least a little bit with the news that Turner is out because he's now going to get to go against Obi Toppin, Jarace Walker, guys who are not elite interior defenders. And Poeltl's he's having the best season of his career. He's having about 16 and 12. He's off 2 monster games, and he was I think he went 28 and 18, and then 35 and 12, the 2 most recent games. So he's playing very well. Gets a fast-paced Pacers team that has allowed a ton of points in the paint. Their interior defense is weak even before we get rid of Miles Turner tonight. So I think he could absolutely smash. I'm curious if his ownership will be really high, but he's one of those guys that I'm going to have in a lot of lineups here. I really like his ceiling, but I also think he's got a really good floor to him. So I think across any kind of play that you're doing tonight, I think he's one that I want to have. And then this comes back to the Embiid news we were talking about earlier, but I think Yabusele is kind of interesting. If Embiid doesn't play, Drummond is theoretically the backup there, but Yabusele has been taking more and more of Drummond's minutes and kind of his rotation share, as Drummond is an empty stats guy. We've seen it everywhere he goes, honestly. And Yabusele's been playing really well. So I like him at his price. He's a good, kind of cheaper option here if we officially get the Embiid is out. Again, I wouldn't want – that's another one where I could totally see them and this Philly training staff who always likes to do crazy shenanigans last second. I could see them, saying, all right, Embiid is going to end up playing, and then you're locked in with Yabusele backing up Embiid, which is not nearly the value at that point.
Right. Am I allowed to play both Drummond and Yabusele? Because in one of my lineups I had it, and I ixnayed that. Is it going to be one or the other, or can you get value out of both?
I do think you want to go sorry, not both. I think you want to go one and you want to go Yabusele is the direction I would go. If you're really intrigued by Drummond, he does, especially if Embiid's out, he theoretically should get minutes. So I don't hate it, but of the two, I definitely like Yabusele more, and they definitely are kind of in direct competition. So I think I would just go with one of them.
Okay, good note. Kirkwood, what are you doing at center? By the way, Jim, that was a test. You didn't say Şengün and you failed. But I'm going to give you another opportunity on DraftKings to see.
Yeah, where's the boo? Where's
Steve
needs to put the boo. Steve needs to put the boo music in there. Right.
Yeah. Kirkwood, what are we doing here in center? What do you like?
All right. Jakob Poeltl, the guy went absolutely ballistic on Friday night. I think it was just insane. Just shows the type of ceiling. And like Jim said, that, it's just now it's a thinned out front court for the Pacers. So I think he's the play. The cheap one is Trey Lyles, but he's also power forward eligible. Cat, if you want to be different than Poeltl and spend up, I mean, Cat his role is insane. The price is gonna keep going up. 9,200 still feels a bit too cheap for the way he's been playing. So he's there. Trying to see who else. So I think those are the guns that I'm really only interested in. But Vooch is a fine play, but I just don't see much of a ceiling there with him. Mason Plumlee is a cheap one, with Nurk out. But yeah, those are my guys. Maybe Zubac.
Why did I think Cat was out? Cat is in?
Yeah, he was out the other night on Friday.
This is making me reevaluate my whole Knicks stand here. Okay, it's oops. Okay, that's good. We have walked through some of our favorites there on FanDuel. We of course want to take to DraftKings. Before we find you the value on DraftKings, we can find you the value right here on RotoGrinders. Busiest time in the sports calendar, perfect time to sign up for RG Combo. For a limited time, you get your first month of combo access for $79.99, which is just $5 more than NBA premium. And you get everything else that goes along with it. Do not pass up this great value. It's like passing up Şengün when he's still around 8K. Just don't do it. You just lock in that value every time, and it will deliver. Let's go to DK. Kirkwood, you can lead us off there at the point guard spot.
All right. A lot of the same names. So the cheap play is TJ McConnell. He's 4,100. It's just too cheap for the minutes he's going to get. Should get. Sometimes they play around and do things, but I just don't think they're capable of not playing him tonight with the who's out. Cade Cunningham is my favorite spend probably on the slate. So against Chicago, great matchup. Halliburton again, Jared McCain again, Jaden Ivey again, Jalen Brunson again. And I also wanted to go back and just say that Yabusele is dancing bear in case you forgot that.
Yeah, I did forget, and now
it should be one or the other. And the other caveat there is that Drummond's been sick, and he's been sicker than there's been a lot of comments from coaches about how he's feeling and stuff. So they may take it easy on him tonight. So I think that's a really sharp call.
Okay, I like it. Jim, your thoughts there? Point.
Yeah, like Kirkwood said, a lot of similar names. I'll highlight Cade. I do think Cade is there's a couple of value plays I do like out there today, and if I'm going to spend, I think Cade is the guy that I would really want to spend on today. The matchup is just so good. Chicago is so good to play these top players against. If you want to go a little bit cheaper version, I do think Jaden Ivey is interesting as well. He gets obviously that same exact matchup. I think he can really eat in this matchup, and then same game, but on the other side of things, Ayo Dosunmu. Josh Giddey is kind of finding himself, on the bench towards the end of games here. I think I've never been a Josh Giddey guy. I think his impact on the game is actually often negative. I think that's starting to become obvious in Chicago as well. I think Desumnu is the guy who could kind of be out there in those crunch time minutes as well. His recent games have been pretty nice in terms of an output. So got to have Desumnu on there potentially.
Very good. Your thoughts at shooting guard. What do you like, Jim?
Shooting guard for DraftKings. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that, a couple of people have said this throughout the day that Duncan Robinson is really popping. So either there's something we're on to, or, and I do think in a GPP game, I think that's when, you got to take these really high ceiling guys that are popping off of these sims more than in the rest of the industry. I think that is got to have him in at least a couple of lineups. Mathurin will be probably my favorite guy at this spot. And then you can run that Ivy here as well. So I think there's a couple of options here at the 2 guard that have interest for tonight's card.
Okay, very good. Kirkwood, your thoughts at shooting guard. I saw you throw up the Hove, by the way. The Rock.
Mathurin's the guy. Jaden Ivey, solid play in that same price range. Both those guys are too cheap for their role tonight. Again, McCain, a chucker. Zach LaVine. It's time to have a conversation about Zach LaVine.
I don't like it.
No ceiling.
Talk to me.
He showed no ceiling, but we know it's in there. This game is going to go off. I think the Chicago-Detroit game. He's the best run back with Cade. He's only 7K. I think the floor is good enough to just suck it up if he doesn't go off. But I'm telling you, one of those Zach LaVine games is coming, and it's coming soon, and people don't want to play this guy anymore. So there's 2 schools of thought. It's like he's overplayed because he hasn't been doing it well this year, or really he's about to go off and he's underowned. So I side with him tonight. Jalen Green is really interesting for tournaments against Milwaukee. He's a guy, he's a guy that can turn it on in any game, as you know, Roth. His prices come down a little bit. He hasn't had any big ceiling games in a while, but Şengün might have his hands full tonight with Giannis, and they might be looking for buckets from Fred VanVleet or Jalen Green. So I like that play too, and then maybe some Kobe White.
Okay. Did get a question about Amen Thompson, who has been getting more and more minutes as of late. I guess maybe the last couple of games were blowouts, so he did not get the run. But he's stuffing the stat sheet. Any interest there, either at shooting guard or small forward, Kirkwood?
Yeah, he's like the next. I forgot to say Mikal Bridges, and that's just Tibbs minutes. And Washington is a great matchup for him with steals and blocks and all that, all the defensive stuff. But if there was another guy behind him that I was going to mention, it was about to be Thompson. So yeah, he's kind of right there.
Okay, very good. What are your thoughts at small forward?
Yeah, I think this is the chalkiest spot tonight. I do think the names at the top are kind of the names you want: Barrett, George, Mathurin. I think the LaVine take is pretty strong. You talked me into getting a little bit of LaVine as well. If you're going really cheap, Fontecchio, the crew was talking about him before at that 3K tag. That he's going to be getting minutes on return tonight. The name that pops out to me in cash games is just this high floor, like the least sexy player of all time, but he always kind of ends up in my lineup somehow. Dillon Brooks. I don't know how I end up with it, but I feel like he often ends up in lineups as just a really cheap piece to slot in somewhere to kind of fill out a lineup. And he's had a pretty solid floor this season, and Milwaukee is, not in good shape right now as a defense, as a team in general right now. So he's a guy that I would look at, potentially in cash games. It's an ugly bet, but sometimes those are the ones you need to make.
Sure. Okay. Kirkwood, your thoughts as small forward?
Yeah. It's the same guys, but it's Jarace Walker. It is Mathurin, RJ Barrett, Franz Wagner, Anunoby. I was answering chat. Who did Jim just talk about at the end there?
It was Dillon Brooks.
Yeah. I had a question. Okay. Do you like Dillon Brooks now? He's the most hated guy. Everyone hates Dillon Brooks.
Yes.
As a player?
I hate Dillon Brooks. But now that you're a Rocket, he's on your team and he kind of fits that mold with defense and stuff. What are your thoughts on him?
No, I still hate him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's how bad he is.
I love the defense that like Eason and some of the other guys bring, but I still.
It's those spots where he thinks he's Michael Jordan, like all of a sudden.
I don't know. It's his face. I don't like it. Any other thoughts there at small forward, Kirkwood?
Anunoby, Paul George. These are all the same guys being recycled because they're all small forward.
Okay,
I think
go to power forward.
Jimmy Butler against Philly. He has, if he has that revenge in his blood, I could see it for tournaments, but it's kind of a risky play. Okay.
Dylan Brooks or Draymond, who is more hateable? It's got to be Draymond. For me, it's Draymond. But
Draymond is so hateable that he's likable, though. You know what I mean? Like Draymond's
really
personality is like on his podcast and stuff. He's likable and everything. So, and I like Draymond, even though I hate Draymond.
Jim, more hateable, Brooks or Draymond?
I actively like Draymond, so I will definitely go with Brooks. I love Draymond. He plays the role so perfect. I also think he's one of the smartest players of all time. I love Dre, so definitely Brooks more hateable.
Okay, it's interesting. You're both on the same page where he's so evil that you've come around to liking it.
But he backs it up, and he's smart, like he's intelligent. And if you listen to his podcast, like he knows basketball inside and out. Dylan Brooks is just a punk, right?
Yeah.
Who hacks, and thinks he's Michael Jordan sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, Jim, your thoughts at power forward.
Yeah, I think the two Pacers have to be where your eyes go. And for me, actually, I should clarify because there's actually three Pacers that potentially slot into this spot. I like Jarris Walker and Pascal Siakam. And I like Siakam. I see Toppin on a refresh here is like third highest owned potentially. I think Siakam flying under the radar a little bit on a nice price. And again, revenge game, say it 100 times, but I think that's a decent look here. And then I'm seeing Yabusele, potentially projected ownership really, really low. So I think he's going to end up being a pretty interesting piece today. As long as we get that Embiid news for sure on that front. A name we haven't said is Oso Ighodaro on the Suns. He is high up in terms of ownership. I probably am not going to be getting a whole lot because of how much everyone else is going to the well there. He's interesting. But I think there are better options here at the power forward spot.
I'm glad you brought that up. I started with all of my builds with him in, and then I just progressively somehow got him out of all. I was just every time I looked at it, I was like, nah, you're gonna screw me. I can't do it with you. But okay, take me to the center spot, Jim. Your favorite position or your favorite players there, rather. Definitely
Pirtle for me. I have been riding Bam recently on these against the Pacers, and with Jimmy out, he's not as interesting to me today. I'm gonna be leaving him on the sidelines, I think. And then obviously we can go back to the Dancing Bear here at center as well. I'll make sure there are no other names here. Oh, there was one name. I'm sorry. I this is not center specific, but I think Caleb Martin actually is an interesting name. I believe he's got 3 and 4 eligibility today, but I just saw something on Twitter come through before. I hope I didn't get got by one of these joke accounts. I was scrolling through and didn't look at it very long, but basically the Heat said they weren't going to give him a tribute video because he wasn't good enough. So if he needed a little extra motivation on a revenge game, them coming out and saying that, I bet he saw that in the locker room. So unless I got with one of those, fake news accounts, I had to have a chuckle at that and think, maybe Caleb Martin, a guy who I'm kind of vaguely interested in when Embiid's off the court anyways, in terms of, soaking up a bit of that usage, could be an interesting play today.
Okay. That's really interesting because I like the narrative, but also I don't think he's good enough to deserve.
No, he definitely is not.
I agree. It's the right choice.
That sounds like butt crack sports.
Yeah, that might be BS, but I like it. I'm on board.
Or Butthole Jenkins.
Our guy Butthole in the chat. Kirkwood, any other names at center? And Jim, did you mention?
Maybe it's.
Did you mention Drummond?
Drummond, I did not shout out. I'm going the Yabusele route.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Kirkwood, your thoughts at center?
Yep, it's the Pacers guys. If you need to play them there, because they're eligible, and that's Obi or Siakam. It is Karl Anthony Towns. One of my favorite Cade is my favorite spend up. Towns is probably number 2. Jakob Poeltl again. We've done enough praising of him in this spot. So 7,700 is still good on DK, Giannis eligible. Jalen Duran is interesting at 6,100 if you need someone a little bit less expensive than the other guys. And then, on a normal slate, Gogo would be great at 5,100, but now that there's more value that's picked up, people aren't going to, his ownership's going to shoot way down. But I think he's playable for GPPs, especially with no Nurk there. So like that. And then, of course, you can always play 8,100 Şengün.
Thank you. God, I was about to chastise you both, and that's it. Just a fair reminder, last game, Şengün played 26 minutes, had 57 fantasy points without any ancillary stats. It wasn't like he was racking up blocks and steals. It's just a straight up triple-double. If that dude gets 33 minutes, he's going to put up 50 plus fantasy points easily. He's just mispriced. Play Şengün until he's 9,500 every single night. Do it and prosper. Okay. We've got 2 minutes until lock. Well, let's dive into it here. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, hit us with the thumbs up. FanDuel's single entry question, Jim, coming to you. McConnell Towns or Cade Lyles?
I want Cade Lyles. Lyles is one of my favorite tonight as well. Chris kind of talked through him earlier. And then Cade, that we're all over him today. So I'll lean that route for the FanDuel side of things.
Okay. Got a question about Duncan Robinson and Oso, both of which were sprinkling a GPP for the tournament upside, but I don't think either of you are too high on either of those guys, Duncan Robinson and the Phoenix guy, Jim.
Yeah, I'm not super high. I think Oso's got the ownership's a little too high. Duncan, I like more of the two. And the projections are real high on him today here at RotoGrinders. So I don't mind taking a shot on him in a bigger tournament field.
Okay, very good. FanDuel GPP Kirkwood, do you think it is too outlandish that Okongwu could be a better play off of all the other cheap power forwards, Walker, Lyles, Toppin, Oso, etc.?
No, I don't think that at all. I think he's a good play. I think there's a lot of risk there potentially. It's tough with him and Capella back and forth, and it's a back-to-back, and he just played 28 minutes. But, he's 28 minutes is enough for this, is more than enough if he can get it for this guy to go off, and it's a good matchup without Sabonis there. So I think that's a pretty sharp, GPP call.
Great. Fred says, DK GPP, Kirkwood, Brunson, or Cunningham? I feel like Cunningham has a slight edge for you tonight, but you like them both.
Yeah, I'm Team Cade and then Team Cat tonight. So
yeah,
Brunson's he had his night on Friday, was it, when he single-handedly did he beat the Nets in that game?
Was that Friday? Yeah, I don't know. He went on somewhat recently. Yeah. FanDuel Cash, Jim, we are coming up on lock here. Siakam and Plum Dog Millionaire or Toppin and Pirtle?
Yeah, there's one guy in each of those that I like. I think I'll go Topham and Pirtle for a cash game. I think Pirtle's floor is just so high tonight that I want to go that nice safe route. And we know Toppin's getting some minutes there, filling in as. Do we have him confirmed as starter? If he's confirmed starter, I'd go that route.
Okay. Brandon says, how is Pirtle pronounced with an R? I don't know, man. I don't make the rules. That's just the way that's what they say his name is. So I go with it. We have hit the lock. Did we get if he was starting, Kirkwood? Were you looking that up or no?
I wasn't. I didn't even hear. So I was.
You're good, man.
Yeah, good. Zoning.
Let's take a couple more of these questions and then bounce out of here. Matt says Hero or Pirtle, Jim, DK Cash.
Cash. Yeah, Cash. I'm gonna go Pirtle again. I assume it's like a util spot if those are the two options. It's just a straight. Who would you rather have in a cash? And I would go Pirtle today.
Yep. And then our final question from Eric Johnson is, Jim, what color Subaru does the guy from Vermont drive?
I drive a Subaru. That's out.
Really?
I am fulfilling the stereotype. I have a hunter green Subaru Forester.
That is absolutely amazing.
Ski or snowboard?
Ironically, basketball. I was playing basketball growing up, so I didn't ski or snowboard, which I'm the only Vermonter to never ski or snowboard.
Wow,
crazy!
Well, it's good to have.
I had to break that stereotype at least. I fit all the others.
Good to have another basketball player on the squad. Do you still hoop? You still play?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah! I love.
Oh, Roth might have. Roth might have some competition.
I might finally have some competition. I got all these jabronis at RG. Nobody can keep up with me. Maybe we got one now. Hey, we're gonna bounce on out of here. For Kirkwood, for Jim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been